mean? They were saying there wasn't a meltdown after it blew up, and only hours later admitted it had blown up at Fukushima #1. Then they list some of the previous cover-ups that they've had. They had to shut down 17 plants in 2003 because they'd been falsifying the records about what had been happening at them. Same thing with 3 Mile Island. Turned out that was many times more deadly than what the U.S. government had said. Now those accidents weren't of a major nature. They weren't anything like what's happening at Fukushima. But they were serious in the sense that the lives were threatened, systems broke down, and those failures to report them were cover-ups. People permitted things that happened. Well, it depends on how you define major. Is this first a partial meltdown? No, that happened Friday. That's fair enough. But there have been serious accidents where people have been killed and injured, and they go on from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing nuclear reactors blow sky high. Again, you don't need to be a nuclear physicist to know this is a very serious situation. And that Japan is whitewashing what's going on. And that, yes, there will be some of these particles, the cesium, the radioactive iodine, and undoubtedly uranium, when you see reactors being blown off the map. Now, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I hope that this isn't as bad as it looks. But we know they've been covering up. And, again, here's the headline that we need at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And I got everybody working on this angle right now from different perspectives. 2 of the 6 reactors have blown sky high. Undoubtedly, there's going to be major problems at the other 4 who are right next door to this. What is it going to do to the relief effort, to pump the salt water in? What is it going to do if an earthquake and a tsunami triggered this? What are giant explosions going to do? What is it going to do to the emergency effort to shut down the meltdown at the other 4? What's happening at the other plants around Japan? Why isn't the U.S. government being honest about this and telling people to get iodine? The government has emergency stores of this that needs to be distributed. They need to be putting out the maps. I'm not a meteorologist, but I went and studied what meteorologists have said about the jet stream, and below that the trade winds and the overall prevailing winds from Japan east. People go, well, that's west, but it's going around in a circle east. From Japan, no one denies that the winds go to the west coast of the United States and Canada. Japan is lined up on the map across from the Pacific Northwest. That's where it's coming in. From the middle of California up into southern Canada. That is the zone. That's where it's coming in. And I read earlier transcripts from Fox, where their own meteorologists and others are saying, yes, those jet streams come in and start dumping in along that mountain range, the mountains that are there on the west coast, and that there's a danger that it's going to pile up there and come in and dump the particles in there. Now, what did I tell callers from Japan who were near Fukushima on Friday? They're saying, well, the government just says stay where we're at. And I said, no, leave, go south. The winds are to the northeast and northwest. Leave, get out of there, get out of there. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I tell you what I would do. Doesn't mean you have to take my advice, okay? But I care about humanity. I care about those Japanese people. I care about what's happening. I care about the west coast of the country. Okay? And we'll continue to... We've got the maps up on Infowars.com of the jet stream. Or you can just type in jet streams over the U.S. and you can get satellite, live satellite. In fact, guys, just put into Weather Underground has it online. It's called Weather Underground. Just put in live satellite feeds of jet streams. And then it'll have a whole bunch of different listings. Click North America or click Northern Pacific. And you can see Japan's over here by Russia. The winds are going this way, right towards the United States. We put that out Saturday. Drudge linked to it. U.S. West Coast and path of fallout. Drudge picked it up. Now Drudge has links to AccuWeather and others with it. George Soros's people at Think Progress are going absolutely ape, trying to control this information getting out, and are rebuking Drudge, saying, how dare you link to Alex Jones? How dare he link to Alex Jones when we were the first to say Fukushima wanted melted down? Hours later, it was confirmed by the Japanese government. When we were the first to push out the accurate article with boil downs by the French news agency and George Washington blog spot to get it out there to the public that experts were saying the prevailing winds. And again, I'm not tooting my horn here. The point is we are being attacked for this, of course, because we're right. We're attacked all over the media for telling folks to buy gold. Went from $260 an ounce 11 years ago to $1,400. We're attacked. Silver goes from $5 to $35. We tell you buy it when it's $5. We're bad. Now you're going, that isn't logical. Yes, it is. Look at what happened to the prophets in the Bible. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, but a lot of times they got killed. People don't want to hear the truth, a lot of them. Sure, my audience wants to hear the truth. Matt Drudge wants to hear the truth. There you go. There's a jet stream model. Let's blow that up right in the middle. It's at about 1 o'clock there at the 5160 grid for prisonplanet.tv viewers. We'll get this. I want to get links to this posted. Send that over to Kurt Nimmo. He's working from home today. Okay, there you go. Japan is 5280 on the graph. The U.S. East Coast is 5400. And there you see the jet stream, ladies and gentlemen, traveling from 5280 to 5400 to 5280. That is the 5400 jet stream. And you can see it directly coming in exactly where I told you it comes in over the Pacific Northwest. We'll be back with your phone calls, 800-259-9231. All right, now nuclear physicists are all over the news arguing about how bad this could be. But the Japanese government, as of Saturday, admitted that at least a partial meltdown did happen at Fukushima Reactor 1. Fukushima 3 blew sky high, and it looked like all the equipment inside was being hurled into the air. But we don't know. All we know is the media, from Haaretz to ABC Australia, is reporting that the Japanese have been deceptive so far. We're hoping that only cesium and radioactive iodine have been released. We know that's been released since Friday. And as more reactors have problems, that's more and more being put into the atmosphere. With all the other problems and tens of thousands dead, conservatively, from the tsunami and the earthquake, a volcano going off. Meanwhile, you've got Saudi Arabia talking about sending troops into another country. London Guardian, Saudi Arabia forces prepare to enter Bahrain after day of clashes. Crown Prince of Bahrain expected to invite Saudi support following anti-government demonstrations in capital. The day of rage expanding over there. Gaddafi winning big battles against the rebels. The West accelerating plans to start aerial bombardments and no-fly zones. This is getting crazy. I mean, the whole world is getting crazy. The ancients always made the point about the Ides of March, how it seemed like crazy things happen in March, the month of Mars. You know, that's, for whatever reason, superstition that happened. There's another bizarre video that's gotten 300,000 views that I happened to see last week, funny enough, with a woman talking about this comet coming through tomorrow on the 15th, which is coming through between some of the planets, and this planetary alignment. And the ancients always believed that planets aligning dealt with disasters, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. And we know the sun manipulates the magma with its radiation and the magnetic field. We know the moon affects the tides of the oceans, but also the magma. And I had a top astrophysicist, meteorologist, Piers Corbin, on Friday, who does believe that this coincided with the huge solar flare that hit the southern hemisphere the day of the mega 9.1, upgraded from 8.9 in Japan, in the northern Pacific, right off their coast. And that the moon was the main driver of the sun's secondary, but those two things happened together. But I am going to play, coming up after we take some of your phone calls, a few minutes of this bizarre prediction where this woman shows NASA's own, alignment scope of the planets and this comet. And she says, on the 8th, I wouldn't be on any fault lines on the 11th. And she says, it's going to get worse on the 15th. And again, I don't normally go off people who are just getting paranoid off stuff, but it is interesting. It is interesting, so we'll just play that because it's gotten a lot of attention, and people obviously have heard about it and want to see it and want to hear it. Tyler, Kevin, David, Richard, Steve, and others. The good news is Dr. Bob Bowman is a nuclear physicist. He has seen both of the explosions. He does know that the Japanese government has reported as of Saturday night that a meltdown caused a nuke plant explosion. But he's saying that's not a total meltdown. He says it could happen. But when you see number 3 completely blow off the map, Well, we're going to talk to him. He's saying that doesn't necessarily mean it's been a total meltdown, which again, would be amazingly good news because we don't want uranium shooting out of there. We already have the cesium and the radioactive iodine confirmed, and they've moved people back more than 60 miles now, and there are a bunch of reports on radiation poisoning. In fact, guys, will you get me the latest on radiation poisoning news? All right, Tim in Germany, Kevin in Arizona, David in Washington, Richard in Vermont, Steve in Ohio. I'm going to go to all of you very quickly. But then I want to only open the phones up for nuclear physicists or nuclear disaster relief people, folks that have worked in nuclear power plants, to give us your view, your perspective. We got Gerald Salente coming up in 30 minutes, popping in for 10 minutes of that interview at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Bob Bowman, nuclear physicist, former head of the Star Wars weapons program. And talking to him, he says, yes, it's a major disaster. Obviously, some stuff's been released, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's been a full meltdown of the reactor itself. I don't know. I'm going to ask him on air if he's seen Fukushima number 3 blowing up this morning. A mushroom cloud, sky high, black wreckage shooting straight up. You see the containment outside blow out, and then straight up. I mean, how could anything survive that? How could any of the other plants around it survive it? I don't trust government. I don't trust the Japanese government to tell the truth. And they've been caught lying, saying there was no meltdown going on Friday or Saturday. Now they say a meltdown did occur. That's mainstream news. A bunch of other newspapers are reporting that they believe a cover-up's going on.